So I recently had an interest, finally, in the Eurorack hobby, which is an extension of the '90s groove box slash MIDI to drum machine press play live jam techno session thing. Basically, people can now buy third-party objects of a synthesizer and assemble them together, all while using CV and pretend it's the 1970s again, but it's 2021. The hobby is expensive and it's for the very young and gentrified. However, because of the help of post pandemic Biden bucks, I was able to get into the hobby and finally, put a close and not go back again. And so this is kind of my experience about my Eurorack project in 2021 and how I built it, and hopefully I can inspire you to try to make your own Eurorack or where to go from there and how to go about this art. So of course I've already had drum machines and synthesizers to begin with, and previously I had a Roland MC101 and I did a Francis Forever demo recording on it. But I sold it, and I traded in for an Arturia Mini Brute 2S. I also, for some time, had a Roland SEO2, which has a really nice USB audio interface where I can get the Moog style synthy stuff into Reason, and I don't have to buy like a Scarlett interface or anything. But since I was building an analog synthesizer project, you might as well get rid of that and then get the expansion for the Atari Mini Brute 2S, the Arturia Rack Brute 6U, where I can start a minimum size Eurorack case and go from there. So my Eurorack entirely consists of a Arturia Mini Brute 2S with its expansion Arturia Rack Brute 6U. And this is what the final project looks like. It's about 22 modules. It's over 1,000 in power consumption. It wasn't $4,000. I would say I would pay at least $2,100. So that's 4 weeks of $500 Biden bucks on this machine. And this, I'm gonna go over each and every unit of what it does on the Arturia Rack Brute 6U, and explain why I chose each unit and each device. So by default, as you can see the arrow in the corner, the Rack Brute has its own power. And what you really only have to do is buy the modules and, screw them together and attach their power cable in the back. The power is in the upper right position, and just, go from there. It doesn't matter where the modules are in, so as long as you put the power at the bottom and put the turn switch on. So when I was thinking of oscillators, as this is just a screen cap from my modular grid project on modulargrid.net, I really liked the Roland System 500 reissue of the Roland System 100, and so I wanted that kind of official Roland sound, or at least I like everything Roland, and I just went with this because it was a dual oscillator compared to their synth module, which is a single oscillator, a filter, and a VCA. I can have two oscillators and, combine them, mix them, whatever. It's better to have more Roland than ever. So here is two voices, and this was about, I got on Reverb for $300 free shipping. This one's a really unit. It came out this year, and my older brother sent me this through Instagram because he actually wanted this device, or he just likes looking up gear online, and he showed me this one, and I only liked it because it was a quad device, meaning that it does have reverb, delay, glitch, and tape stop, which is hard to come by in digital effect, but you can also, input and give. It's because it's a quad, you can send out for these effects to each sound. And so that's why I liked the impressive ability and the playfulness where you just have to press a button and move the switch, and it's very straightforward. It's just very pricey. It was $410, and this is probably one of the most expensive units. It is as much as buying a Roland MC101. And so as much as I don't like the price, I just like this being a quad unit and getting the effects out the way so I can have that very delay, reverb, and glitch effect, which can make it sound like more of a machine. It's digital, so you can't go wrong with the 2HP ADSRs, 80 ADSRs. I did have two Behringer ADSRs for 120, but it doesn't now. When I realize it's about saving space, as I have two 2HP ADHRs, and it's just all it has to do is control the envelope and say attack, delay, sustain, and release. So this was just to minimize how I just wanted to get rid. I don't think envelope generators should have the full say in this machine. So that's why I only have two. I really like the Soundforce dual filter. I was able to find it for 120. And for the size, and that it's both two low passes or two high passes, or low pass, high pass, it's a great sounding filter. And that gives you two filters in a very small, convenient package. And that's why I want it, because I was just looking for dual filters. I don't want to buy multiple filters, but I really like this. And the sound is really good. It's supposed to be a Korg MS-20 kind of Korg filter, but I don't know, it has a nice, very deep undertone to it. And I'm starting to really like this filter a lot. So I recommend this one if you want dual filters for, 120. It's maybe went up in price to 200, but I got mine for 120. I actually really like this a Roland Mixer. I was able to snag this also for 300, but this is almost like the brain of the device. In other words, ideally what I'd like to do is put up to 6 inputs at the end. This is the caboose of the whole device. Consolidate those 6 voices into the L and R at the bottom, and just use that as a headphone jack out through a mono speaker or left to right on a stereo system. And this is almost required in every Eurorack device. I just think as such a big device this is, it's such a great little hands-on performance mixer, from dialing the slides and the mute buttons. I love the mute buttons so much in case if I get too much noise or whatever. It's really like almost as if you took the Roland TR6S and put it into the Eurorack formula. It works so well and controls everything to a precise precision. And I love this, actually. I think, you could still get these around. Sometimes they're 400, just like the Performer. But, yes, great device. This is a very cheap one, the Dreadbox First Wave Echo. I got this for $65. It's just, delay and some tiny, I don't know if reverb, tiny little echo. I love putting the sounds out. It gives that nice 70s vintage feel. I just put the feed in time to 1 o'clock, and it sounds really like being in a cave. So I like this one a lot. The funny part about this Pico sequencer is when I got this for 110, it came in the mail broken, but actually what happened was the second circuit board fell off, and I had to push in the circuit board on the back in order for it to work. And now it does work, and I was about to return it until I figured out this is a very sensitive, tiny 3HP little sequencer, and I was able to push it in together. And now it reads. It could be a randomizer, it could do ping pong, a forward, backward. And altogether, I have 5 sequencers on this machine. This was the last sequencer I got. I just need a sequencer for every voice on this. I don't want to rely fully on the Arturia Mini Brute 6U, 2S at the bottom, I mean to say. So I just want this to also be a standalone. I mean, I really love sequencers. That also goes to say that the Future Retro tracks, I got both the Mini and the tracks together in an eBay listing for $140 free shipping. Usually the Mini bus will sell for $80 and the tracks $180, almost a $300. I got lucky and got both for $140. So I had a snag on it. It's a very impressive post, Future Retro Revolution 16-step drum machine, where the trigger, CV1 and CV2, you can make it like bass, snare, and hi-hat or noise, whatever. You get that all in there by kind of playing this Lifehack, and I kind of like it also as the main clock. It's a very pretty little device, and for the price at 140, it can be like a Division mini sequencer at the bottom, but at least it handles the percussion sounds very well. And up to 2 to 3 tracks being percussive sounds, I really like that. So I usually use this guy as the main clock. If I do use the mini bus, I'm going to be using the Arturia Mini Brute 2S at the bottom. Very important one, this is kind of the first one I got, is that I have a Korg MS-20 MIDI, and I believe the Harvestmen had a tier device, which was in 2013, where you could take the hertz of the MS-20 Mini and convert them to CV. That's long gone, sold out, and nobody sells them, on eBay. So this really nice guy from Oklahoma, G-Storm, he made one again in 2020, and I just had to pick this up at his Reverb store. And I've been just using my MS-20 Mini and controlling it with this Rack Brute, and I love it. And I really think this plays such an important part to the machine, as I feel this is just nothing more as quote-unquote DLC downloadable content or an expansion to already good synthesizer stuff, where I can take the hertz and the CVs and just go back and forth with it all, because this is nothing more than a canvas of binary CV operations, isn't it? All right, originally I wanted to get a noise engineering device until I had this very annoyance that it was all digital, and that I already had a rack extension of its drum machine in Reason, and I've used it so many times, and I just told myself I'm going to avoid anything in voices that are digital. It's okay for the effects to be digital. It's just not okay if the main sound source is digital. And because I might as well be running it on a computer program, right, or VSTs. And this is good distortion. It's good distortion in a very crunchy, new age, hip kind of way. I like its full back. I like that. This is really good for percussive more than anything. Just have one brand of noise engineering in there to just show how much you like that crunch, There's also the Verb here. And this is pretty basic reverb. The Performer reverb is very sexy. This Cybertech Verb I got for about $100. It's very roomy. It sounds like a hall. At least it has that basic reverb hall for 2 HP, so I like it. I really like the Dave Smith devices a lot. So as you can see, I have 2 Dave Smith Euroracks in here. There's a third one called the Feedback, but I felt the Feedback was more, into distortion more than anything. So I really just wanted the filter and the character. I mean, I do like how this air and it's the elements you have, where it's like lo-fi, distortion, high pass, low pass. It's kind of like a 5-in-1 combo with that Dave Smith type of mofo nostalgia. I'm very nostalgic about the Dave Smith stuff now. Now that it's sequential, I just don't feel it's the same thing anymore. And I just had to get these because I'm only going to build the Eurorack, which gives me nostalgia about the things I've always wanted, I'm not going to get the new make noise or mutable instruments, digital stuff. I don't understand any of the West Coast idiocy, Here's your basic dual VCA, 2 HP again. If not, 2 HP pretty much makes up the mass of because it's just only $100 to 2 HPs, and this VCA is pretty normal, pretty good. Loud enough, right? I already have a mixer, so. G-Storm had a wonderful sine drum clone, the Transistor 82. It's basically both a bass and a snare. You can mix it in between. It has that nice, bass snare analog. It could be a kick or a snare, and I love this. It's like almost my favorite device, and it's just such a good analog bounce to it. I love it. I've been using it also as like kind of a lead as well, or a bass, and you don't have to follow. It's percussion, but I like how very flexible it is. This has a VCA built inside of it because it's percussive. I love it. It's actually pretty big, as being such a bulky tool. Here's a white ADSR. The reason why I wanted to get white was to match the VCA and the white G-Storm guy, compared to the black ADSR up there to send your envelope. Pretty basic. This guy by Ion Modular, I really like. Okay, so there is the Moog, the first modular Moog, and that was like the very first Eurorack one. And then there's clones of it. I know Behringer has a clone of this exact same unit for like $100, but I got this unit for $350 from Perfect Circuit because it just has that nice Moog sound, and it's not like, Moog is making small Eurorack units. They're making huge, like 60 HP, which is way too much. And compare this and to the Roland, these are kind of, you're looking at the core voices, the core three voices of the Rack Brute here. And the Moog sound there, two Rolands, a G-Storm drum, and you have it all pretty much. And there's the kick over there. So it's really 5 voices with 5 sequencers with 3 filters, dual VCA. And if I need to borrow any other thing, it's from the Mini Brute 2S, where I can borrow its CV patch. There is a little opening of a 1 HP slot, which I just picked the Zlob one out because it was pretty, and that was $4. But again, I love the Dave Smith stuff, and I love this Curtis filter. Now, with the Curtis filter, you have to play it on a stereo system, because on a mono system, it's so deep, it just like destroys the speakers immediately with the resonance and filter when you boost it. The Soundforce dual filter is very sexy, but the Curtis filter is so in your face, which I think is like the classic Moog filter kind of like sexy, funky stuff. And it can really, like this Curtis filter, big system play with it. So attaching with the Ion Modular, it can really make this impressive, deep, luscious sound. So you have to get a really, and taking the filter out too. If I wanted to borrow the random from the sequencer and put it in here and get the fake automation, it sounds really nice. The kick, this is actually a VCA voice. All it is a kick by 2 HP, and very small. It has like 5 different tones, but I can use this as the bass or snare or maybe hi-hat, whatever I want. So I get that boom, 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 kind of noise. So you're looking at 5 voices here, and 2 of these voices, you don't need really much filters. They could just be into the Future Retro tracks and be as a bass and snare, hi-hat, close hi-hat for that percussive noise. And then we get to another brain here is the Division 6 dual mini sequencer. 2 16-step sequencers. So let's say I had 2 Roland voices in here through the filters and the VCAs and the envelopes controlling it. Now you got like, 2 sequencers of a bass and a lead, the bass and the snare from the Future Retro, and maybe like some whacked out, mini Moog modular going through the Pico system. And that's 5 channels already. And so I deliberately left 1 6-channel open for maybe the Korg MS-20 Mini, the Arturia Mini Brute itself, maybe a Roland TR-6S drum machine being synced out from the clock of the Mini Brute 6S into the Future Retro, into the Division 6, into the Pico, big long chain there, but it all works out well. And for around that price, yeah, you're getting this kind of little mini 5-track synthesizer studio. And sometimes you could be unorthodox and break that rule and maybe take a Roland and a Moog and Ion Modular and put it together, use this filter back into the Arturia, and create some of the most impressive sounds ever. So in a way, if you were in person, it kind of looks like this. I have the Arturia carrying case, the Mini Brute 2S, and on top is the Rack Brute 6U with all those said mentioned models. I have the Hosa rainbow cables, kind of 3 of them. I try to avoid red because red I associate with out, and black is just I can't see it. I use only like orange, yellow, green, blue, and purples and grays, and avoid blacks and brown. And I carry a little $20 Ankler sound. It's battery operated. The mono goes that from the Roland Mixer into there. Bring it into the suitcase, and you got everywhere go Eurorack modular. You just have to power up this little system to a wall or something and you're good to go. Only the little battery operating speaker is battery powered. So yeah, it's a very fun project. I enjoyed it for the last 2 to 3 months, and I'm going to see what music I can make from it. Record the out into a Zoom mixer or a tape deck, or record the DAW record the sounds of the DAW and see what happens. So maybe you can look into it, and maybe you can get some $2,000 Biden bucks and kind of make your own Eurorack. But again, do I have a final opinion on it? Yeah, it's pretentious. It is overpriced, and I probably won't do it again, but at least I can say I've done it. Class dismiss. Thanks for listening.